Hi ladies, I'm just going to take you through a short postnatal recovery sequence, something that you can do at home. Using a mat if you've got one. It's nice to have a brick, don't have to have one, and either a yoga belt or using it just a normal belt is absolutely fine. The crucial part of any of your postnatal recovery exercises is your breathing. So we want to make sure that when we're breathing, that the diaphragm and the pelvic floor can work together really nicely. So when we are on our backs, we don't want to flatten the tummy completely down towards the spine, because that stops us activating the diaphragm properly. We want to have that tiny little lumbar curve when we're on our backs. And as you breathe, slowing the breath right down and seeing if you can pull the breath to the bottom of the rib cage and then out to the side of the rib cage and then up. So it's almost like you're filling a big bowl of water up. So it's like you're pouring the breath down, it's filling up to the sides, and then it's coming up towards your clavicles here. And then as you exhale, it's almost like you're just pouring water out of that bowl. You slightly draw the base of the rib cage in and you let the breath pour out of your lungs. When you're lying on your back, your chin's slightly tucked in, so that this creates a slight constriction on the back of your throat. And that slight constriction helps you to make the diaphragm work harder and creates that nice ocean-like sound to your breath. It's called the Ujjayi breath in yoga. So it sounds like the ocean. You pull the breath in almost like an accordion, and then you press the breath out of you. So we're going to come onto our backs. Now, if you find that your rib cage is flaring here, you get this arch through your back, quite often it's the psoas muscles that are pretty tight. So it's a good idea to take a brick or a rolled up blanket, something underneath your head. I've got the light going on my head, look like an angel. So that your chin can tuck in and it's easier to drop the base of the rib cage down. Okay, so this, if necessary, I'm just going to take that away for the moment for me. So start off with, we're going to activate through the pelvic floor and then draw the breath up towards the base of the rib cage, activating those deep transverse abdominal muscles. So on an exhalation, you draw in the four corners of the pelvic floor, you zip up towards the cervix, you zip up right through the cervix towards the base of the rib cage. Don't flatten your back into the ground, keep that slight lumbar curve. And then as you exhale, soften the belly, soften the pelvic floor. So we're exhaling, the four corners, pubic bone, tailbone, sit bones, drawing into the midline. You're exhaling again, you're zipping up through the vagina towards the cervix, up through the cervix towards the tummy button, base of the ribcage drawing in. And then as you inhale, you are softening. So doing a few more of those breaths, drawing in, zipping all the way up, drawing slightly in through the base of the ribcage, and then releasing. So that's stage 1, 2, and 3 of your breath out. I'm going to get you now to take the hands across the midline of the body like this, and on your exhalation, once you have zipped up, you've zipped right up towards the tummy button, you start to pull the recti muscles towards the midline. So you're pulling either side of your tummy muscles into the midline here, hands crossing like that. And then at the end of your breath out, you just raise the head up slightly. So as you raise the head up slightly, we are really activating those deep transverse abdominal muscles. We've pulled the recti muscles into the midline. So any gap there, any recti gap, we are pulling, physically pulling inwards. Making sure that our pelvic floor is lifted first. We're using an exhalation. I like to add a bit of sound like sss. That helps you to exhale even longer, and it helps you to really get that that full working diaphragm. Get that belt out of the way. Okay, let's try again here. So hands across the midline of the body, taking a full breath out. Breathing in to release the pelvic floor. Zipping up as you exhale. And releasing through the pelvic floor as you release your tummy button as well. He keeps doing silly things. Now I want you to do up to 10 of those, then release the pelvic floor, breathe nicely and deeply. Quite nice to take the toes together and the knees dropping out to the sides. So Supta Baddha Konasana, that stretches the inner thigh muscles that run into the pelvic floor. And then try doing this. Take the feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. Press through the heels. So you press down through the shins, down through the heels. That activates the hamstrings, activates the glutes. You lift up and then squeeze your knees and your thighs together. So you're pulsing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Releasing down. Release the pelvic floor. Release the lower back. Exhaling up. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Release. Roll back down. Massage through the lower back. Exhaling up. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Release. Down again. You want to press down through the heels as you come up on an exhalation, so you really get those nice activated gluteal muscles. Having good strong glutes is crucial for lengthening out through the pelvic floor, so you're not tucking your tailbone under, and release. So keep going with those up to 10 if it feels good. Any pressure through the lower back, just stop, release from there. Now the next one, we take the toes together, hands down on the ground. On an exhalation, you press up through your toes, heels off, knees apart. We're working now on gluteus medius, and we're working on the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis. Inhaling, slowly flowing down. Exhaling, pressing up. The exhalation naturally draws up the pelvic floor as the diaphragm pushes the breath out of us. And then knees together, rolling back down. So 10 of these as well. Exhaling, inhaling, chin is tucking in, lengthening out through that cervical spine. If you find that your shoulders are rounded and your head is tilting back, make sure that you do take that brick and place it underneath your head here. Exhaling, inhaling. So doing up to 10 of those. Take the feet apart again. Take your brick between your knees. Where's my brick on? Here we are. Between your knees, so you're squeezing in. That activates your adductor muscles, inner thigh muscles. Squeeze in. Now press down at the same time through your heels. So you squeeze in, you press down. As you press down, you slowly take your glutes up off the ground, activating them, and then slowly roll back down again. So this might be enough for you, and especially if you've got any pubic symphysis pain, any sacroiliac pain, staying with this one, you can come up and then just pulse with the heels off. If you've done 10 of those and you're thinking, I want some more, I want my glutes to work harder, knees together, you still feel like you're squeezing those thighs together as you come up. Press down through the left foot, stick your right foot out in front of you, and then do a couple of these leg lifts. So you're exhaling as you're taking your foot upwards, and you're pressing down firmly through the opposite foot that's on the ground. And then swap sides, glutes are switching on, leg out, taking that foot up. Any pressure through the pubic bone here, any pain in the sacroiliac joint, you come down and just do the one where you're taking both knees up, both glutes up at the same time. So doing that one, so you're really active through those glutes. And then try taking your feet up so that they are parallel to the ground like this. Hands on the outside, so your hands are like this. Hands on the outside of your knees, chin tucked in, shoulders away from ears. Start to press out with your knees and in with your hands. Exhale. Keep the pelvic floor soft and just draw inwards here. The erectile muscles coming in, deep transverse abdominal muscles switching on. So you're pressing out with your knees, in with your hands. We're working your abductor muscles here, stabilizing muscles into the pelvis, shoulders dropping away from ears into the ground. Breathing. Opposite, take the hands into fists like that. Take the outside of your fists onto the inside of your knees. Knees are bent. This gets more into the triceps, so it's a good one. Now we press out with our hands and in with our knees. Out with our hands, in with our knees. We feel it here. We're also working on the adductors, inner thigh muscles, and into the core. So pelvic floor remains soft. That's the tricky bit. And then exhaling, little puffy exhalations in order just to contract here without pushing pressure down through the pelvic floor. Good. Now, a slightly more advanced one, if you have got good control over drawing up through the pelvic floor, is to take the hands just above the knees, flat. For this one, you need to exhale, drawing through the pelvic floor, zip up through the vagina, through the cervix, right up to tummy button, pause, and then as you exhale again, you press the knees into the hands and the hands into the knees like that. So as I'm pressing, I'm getting quite a lot of pressure here, but I'm also contracted up through the pelvic floor. Good. So little sippy puffs out. And then release the tummy. Take the knees down towards your armpits. See if you can reach up towards the ankles, maybe even the inside of your feet like this. So now I'm flattening my back against the ground. Pelvis is down, shoulders are down. Really nice to kind of pull on one foot and then the other and just massage across your back. This releases the pelvic floor, releases the inner thigh muscles. So breathing smoothly, deeply, relaxing. Knees into chest. Massage the lower back. Now, take yourself onto your tummy. So in class today, we stretched out and we used our tummy muscles to roll over. Come onto your tummy. It's important that we make sure that the extensor muscles of the back are strong as well as strengthening the core muscles and the pelvic floor muscles. So especially when you're doing lots of lifting up of bubba. So we want to take tummy button slightly off the ground. Now, you can't see my feet, but I'm pressing the tops of my feet into the ground. That activates my legs, kind of jumps over the bottom. Start off with cobra, so elbows in. As you inhale, you press the tops of the feet into the ground. You draw slightly up into a little curve and then relax back down again. You want to focus on squeezing the muscles in towards the spine. So on an inhalation, you float up, and then you float back down again. Inhaling up, exhaling down, and doing 10 or so of these as well, using your breath. If that's comfortable, you can take yourself into Sphinx pose, forearms on the ground, tops of the feet pressing into the ground, inhaling to draw yourself forward. It's almost like your shoulders being pulled back, but your chest is being pulled forward. Lengthen through the front and the back of your neck. And then just looking over one shoulder, dropping the other shoulder down, and looking over the other shoulder. So we release one shoulder down and then the other, and we get a nice stretch out through the neck, like so. Good. Now, using your brick again, I'm going to get you to come into lotus pose, but using your brick. So start off, have your brick close by. Start off just with your fingers, and if you don't have a brick, you can just use your fingers. So we inhale, we pull fingertips back, and that is now activating all the upper back muscles. Chest comes off, stretch through the front of the chest. Tops of the feet on the ground initially, and then lower back down. You can take head to one side, rock the pelvis, roll the shoulders back, lift the fingers, inhale, stretching back, and then release down. Now that's okay on your lower back. Incorporate your toes lifting up the ground as well. So feet off, stretching the heart center forward, crown of the head forward, chin is tucked in, fingertips pulling back, toes pulling back, lifting slightly and then releasing down. Head to the other side. Now that's comfortable. You can take your brick, place it between your hands, little fingers up, thumbs down. So as we press in on the brick with our hands, we're also getting a little bit of extra strengthening through the upper back. So we're inhaling, we're pulling back, pushing in, maybe toes off the ground too, crown of the head lengthening forward, and then releasing, softening, roll the shoulders back, pulling all the way backwards, activating through the legs, and then rocking back down again. So doing that a few more times. When I want you to rest, coming into crocodile pose. So resting in crocodile pose, hands one on top of the other. Now you want to take your toes in and your heels out like this. I'm going to just show you my feet. Toes in, heels out. So what that does, it creates lots of space across the sacrum here. Heels dropping down towards the ground, toes in. And your tummy will come off the ground ever so slightly. Crocodile pose is a really nice pose to be in to do some more pelvic floor work. So toes in, heels out, rest the forehead against the ground like this, chin is tucked in. Now, I'm going to get you to activate through the urethra and zip all the way up. So I call it, well, it's almost like you've got testicles and you're pulling them up to your spectacles. And what we do is we squeeze inwards on the urethra, and then as you exhale, it's like we're pulling all the way out. So you've got about 6 centimeters of the urethra. You want to exhale to squeeze in, and then exhale again to draw up. So when you're on your tummy, it's a sensation is that you're drawing inwards, you're zipping up through tummy, you'll find the tummy button comes off your spine slightly, and then so towards your spine, and then all the way up, and then you release all the way down, soften completely through the pelvic floor totally. So we're just focusing on the muscles at the front of the pelvic floor, zipping up through the urethra all the way up, and then releasing down. Try to keep your bottom soft so it's not doing any work. Quite often when we do pelvic floor work, our adductor muscles, inner thigh muscles, and our glutes want to take over. So do not let them do any work. Toes in, heels out. That will keep the glutes from jumping in there. And just focusing on zipping all the way up and releasing all the way down. On tummy, crocodile pose, toes in, heels out, zipping all the way up and releasing all the way down. And we've got fast twitch muscles and slow twitch muscles. So you want to do that slowly initially, zipping in and all the way up over about 7 to 8 seconds and all the way down. And then doing the same thing but faster, zipping in, up and releasing down, zipping in, up and releasing down. Once you finish both slow twitch and fast twitch, stay in crocodile pose and just breathe into the pelvic floor, sending both the inhalation and the exhalation into the pelvic floor. And it's almost like you're trying to pull the pubic bone, the tailbone and the sit bones away from each other when you're doing that deep conscious relaxation. And we call it going down to basement level. So if you've been zipping up through that lift to level 1, then level 2, and then all the way up to level 3, and then releasing down and down and down, then you go right down to basement level and you just chillax there. You just relax the pelvic floor. You make sure that you're not carrying any tension going forward. And then push yourself back into child pose. Either knees apart, toes together, releasing down like that. In fact, that's a nice one to do to start off with. I'm going to take my fingers on the ground, my wrists off, so I'm lengthening underneath the arms there. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. And then try taking knees together so that tummy can just drape over thighs, and try taking hands upwards like that. If you need a brick underneath your forehead to keep the neck long, that's nice. Otherwise, if you can reach the ground, this is really nice. Just a little bit of pressure through the forehead. It just helps all of that crazy thinking mind to calm down. If you're finding that your bottom's up in the sky, just grab either another brick or a rolled up blanket and place it here so that your bottom has got something to press into. It's not just hanging there in space. Relaxing. And then finally, taking a few minutes to take your legs up a wall. So if you haven't got a wall, use the edge of a bed. Now, I'm not sure if I can show you this from the cameras here. I hope I can. Take your bottom to the side like that, and then you just swing your legs up the wall, like so. Shoulders away from ears, palms up. The weight of the legs drops down into the pelvis. It's lovely just to stretch the back of the pelvis. And it's a really nice way just to spend 5 to 10 minutes of deep relaxation. If you have got heaviness through the pelvic floor, or indeed if you have got a prolapse of any degree, try taking either your brick or a rolled up blanket underneath the pelvis, just to put the pelvis on a tilt and just take the weight of the pelvic organs away from the pelvic floor itself. So having a brick or a blanket or something, just not lower back, but under the pelvis. So then when your legs are up, you've got a slight tilt here and the organs are dropping down away from the pelvic floor. Really nice way just to relax. And I suggest to new mums that if you can possibly take 15, 20 minutes, several times a day ideally, but even once a day, to listen to a yoga nidra or another form of deep relaxation. There's loads on YouTube. And when Bub's asleep, just take that time to calm your central nervous system. What you don't want is for the adrenals to become so fatigued that you end up completely burning out. So when you fill up your own cup, when mum is feeling at least a little bit rested and a little bit like she has looked after herself, then the whole family benefits. It is the most selfless thing that you can do to look after yourself. So mums, you are doing an amazing job. best of luck with your postnatal recovery. Looking after yourself now is going to pay massive dividends in the long run. And namaste from me. I'm Linda Stevens from YogaMums. Take care.